Hi, my name is Ronnie Ann, and today I'm going to show you how I do my natural everyday skin routine using only 5 products. If you don't like the way that makeup looks or feels on your skin, or if you have a dry skin type, this video is for you. So I'm going to start off with Glow Screen. This has a broad spectrum SPF of 40. I pretty much use this every day that I'm going to be in the sun, and it just gives the skin this really beautiful glow. So next up is Tower 28 Sunny Days. This is one of my new favorite tinted moisturizers, partially because I think the packaging is adorable. So I'm using a pea-sized amount. This is the shade of Melrose, emulsifying it in my hands, and then I'm going to start on the center of my face and work my way out. The center of my face tends to be a little bit more rosy, so that's where I want the most product, and where you place the product initially usually has the most coverage. So once I get it spread out, I go in and I start patting. Patting makes sure that there's no streaks, and it will also build up a little bit more opacity for you. And you can see the finish that that has. It feels really nice and hydrating. I have a drier skin type, and that's one of the reasons why I love this product. And I always pair my tinted moisturizer on top of a regular moisturizer because I have really dry skin. So next up is concealer. This is the Hourglass Airbrush Concealer. It's a tiny little travel size from Sephora, and I'm just gonna dab a dot in the inner corners of my eyes. The under eye tends to have fine little lines and texture that makeup loves to accentuate, so I always think that less is more. But you can see the brightness that that gives. You can always add more concealer too, so I don't think that there's any need to start off with larger quantities. So I've got my eyes brightened up underneath. I've got a couple of little blemishes, well, the remnants of blemishes. My skin's kind of discolored from them. I'm gonna use a fine little brush and take a little bit of my concealer, and I'm going to take a little bit of the tinted moisturizer because it's darker than the concealer. So I'm mixing the two of these because the concealer has more coverage, but the tinted moisturizer is a little bit darker. And the last thing you want to do is put a concealer that's too light on a blemish because it will basically attract the light and draw attention to it. So just tapping the product on the blemish, trying to concentrate it just where the blemish is to keep the skin looking natural. And I'm also like getting the excess off of the brush onto my hand so that it's easier to control when it's on my face. So now I'm going to use the same brush and I'm going to apply a little bit of powder on top. And that's how I cover up my blemishes. So I've pretty much taken all the color out of my face, and I'm gonna go back and add some dimension in. I'm using Jones Road's new bronzer. This is the bronzer in the shade of medium tan. Oh, gotta itch. You gotta itch your face, just tap it with your nail. Otherwise you're gonna scrape your makeup off. So I know that I want a little bit of dimension back on the cheekbone area. Using really small amounts of product, again, I can always add more, especially with a bronzer. If you go in too heavy-handed to begin with, you're going to look like an Oompa Loompa, probably, because bronzers tend to err on the side of being orange. So I think I'm gonna do this half of my face so you can see the difference with this side having nothing and this side having bronzer. So with bronzers and contour products, you really need to customize color and placement to your skin tone and face shape. For my face shape, I know that my forehead tends to be a little bit more square, and I want to use bronzer to kind of cut off these corners to make it a little bit more rounded. I just feel like it's flattering. It's how I like my face to look. I am going to apply a little bit of bronzer to the outer corners of my forehead. And then I'm going to take whatever's left on my brush and kind of dust through the middle of my face. This is the Yachiyo brush from NARS. I really like this, even though it sheds. I like it because it's tapered to a little tiny point, so it allows you to get into small crevices on the face and be more intentional with placement. But it's also nice and fluffy as opposed to being really like tight and compact, so it still allows you to kind of buff out and diffuse product. So now you can compare this side of my face to this side. This side looks more angular, I look a little healthier, have a little color back in my skin, and that's because the darker, warmer tones are kind of playing with how the light reflects off of my skin tone and bone structure. Okay, so I'm gonna do the other side of my face. Okay, this brush. If you end up with tons of brush hairs all over your face, you can take a eyebrow spoolie and just gently grab them. That usually is faster than trying to use the shedding brush to dust off your face, as I just tried to do and got more bristles everywhere. So the last thing that I'm gonna do with this routine is add a little bit of powder. And by a little bit, I mean a little bit. So I'm using a fluffy brush. This is the Luxe Powder Fusion number 134. It's a really nice small fluffy brush where I'm able to concentrate product product in small areas. I'm gonna dust the tiny bit under my eyes. Again, that's an area that tends to have fine lines, and powder loves making things look dry and textured, which is why I'm using a brush and being really light-handed. And this powder is the translucent powder from Makeup Forever in the shade 2 Banana. So this is it. This is my everyday natural complexion routine. It's a great base to build any makeup look on top of. It only takes about 5 minutes to do. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked, of course. And thank you so much for watching.